Iran protests and crackdown. Opening context. Narrator.com. Serious tone. In late December 2025, Iran was shaken by a wave of unrest. The collapse of the national currency and soaring food prices left millions struggling to survive. What began as frustration over empty shelves and unaffordable goods quickly grew into something larger. Across the country, voices rose in anger, demanding change. Tehran's streets filled with chants, and soon the protests spread far beyond the capital. Spread of protests? Within days, demonstrations erupted in every province, from the northern cities to the deserts of the south. People gathered in defiance. At first, the grievances were economic, but as the weeks passed, the protests transformed into political defiance against the clerical regime. For many, this was not just about inflation, it was about freedom, dignity, and the right to be heard. The scale of the uprising was unprecedented, rivaling the largest movements since the 1979 revolution. Casualties and arrests. The cost of defiance was devastating. Activist groups estimate that between 600 and 2,000 people have lost their lives. Thousands more were injured. Over 10,000 protesters have been detained in hundreds of demonstrations. Families wait anxiously for news of loved ones, often receiving none. With communication blackouts and censorship, the true scale of the tragedy remains hidden. Yet even in silence, the grief is overwhelming. Government response. The government's response was swift and uncompromising. Internet services were cut, phone lines restricted, and security forces deployed across major cities. Armed patrols filled the streets. Checkpoints appeared overnight, and fear spread as reports of expedited trials emerged. Protesters faced the possibility of death sentences handed down in secret courts. Leaders accused demonstrators of serving foreign interests, vowing to crush what they called a threat to national stability. International reactions. The crackdown drew condemnation from around the world. Human rights organizations warned of mass executions, recalling the brutal aftermath of earlier protests. Foreign governments urged restraint, while global media struggled to verify events through the haze of censorship. The United Nations expressed concern over the use of expedited trials. In capitals across the globe, the question was raised: how far would Iran's leaders go to silence dissent? Closing reflection. As January 2026 unfolds, the protests remain unresolved. For many Iranians, the struggle is no longer just about economics. It is about the future of their nation. Candlelight vigils honor the dead, while whispers of resistance continue in the shadows. The story of these protests is still being written, and for those who march, chant, and risk everything, the hope remains that one day their voices will bring change. Closing text on screen. Iran protests January 2026. The struggle continues.